So, I need to get this off my chest. In 2 weeks, I was supposed to get married to the woman I thought was the love of my life. Everything seemed perfect. We'd been together for 5 years, lived together for 3, and our wedding was meticulously planned down to the last detail. Our families were ecstatic, friends were excited, and I was genuinely happy. Or so I thought. My twin brother Mark and I have always been close, but recently something felt off. At first, I couldn't put my finger on it. Mark had been acting strange, more distant, making fewer plans to meet up, always seemed distracted when we talked. I chalked it up to him being busy with work and my own wedding preparations consuming most of my mental space. It started with small things. Random texts from my fiancée Sarah that seemed weird. Once, she sent a message that read, "Can't wait to see you tonight," but when I asked her about it later, she played it off as a work-related message sent to the wrong person. Another time, I caught her looking slightly uncomfortable when Mark was around, but she quickly composed herself. The first real red flag came during our joint bachelorette party. We decided to do a combined celebration, something modern and fun. Mark was acting bizarre, constantly finding excuses to be near Sarah, to talk to her. When I noticed and tried to joke about it, he quickly changed the subject or make some generic comment about wedding stress. I am a pretty observant guy. Being an identical twin means you develop a kind of sixth sense about your brother. We might look exactly the same, but they always had our own distinct personalities. Mark was always the more adventurous one, the one who took risks. I was the stable, predictable one, the one getting married, building a stable career, doing everything right. But something was gnawing at me, a feeling deep in my gut that something was terribly wrong. Little did I know how right I was. 2 days after the bachelor party, I decided to do something I am not proud of. But desperate times call for desperate measures. I installed a tracking app on Sarah's phone. Something I never thought I'd do. I know it's a massive invasion of privacy, but the gut feeling was eating me alive. The first day, nothing seemed unusual. Work, grocery store, gym. But on the second day, something weird happened. Sarah's location showed her at a coffee shop near our apartment, but when I called her, she claimed to be at a work meeting downtown. I texted Mark to ask if he wanted to grab lunch, and he said he was swamped with a project. That's when I realized they were at the same coffee shop. I drove there immediately, my heart racing. The parking lot was half empty, and I spotted Sarah's car right away. Before I could talk myself out of it, I walked inside. They were sitting in a corner booth, heads close together, looking intense. When they saw me, the change was instantaneous. Sarah went pale. Mark looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Hey, what's going on?" I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Sarah stuttered something about a work project. Mark suddenly became very interested in his coffee. I knew something was wrong. Really wrong. I sat down, forcing a smile. "So, tell me about this project." The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Sarah's hands were shaking slightly as she tried to explain some convoluted work scenario. Mark kept avoiding eye contact. And me? I was collecting every single detail, watching their body language. It was then that I noticed something bizarre. Sarah was wearing the same earrings she supposedly lost 2 weeks ago. The ones I helped her look for everywhere. The same earrings I seen Mark's girlfriend wearing in a recent Instagram photo. Piece by piece, something insane was taking shape in my mind. That night, after Sarah went to bed, I started digging. And what I found was going to destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. My detective work started innocently enough. I began by checking Sarah's phone records, something I'd never done before. We always had an open phone policy, which now felt like the most ironic joke in the world. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 3 months, there were dozens of calls and texts between Sarah and Mark that had been carefully hidden. Not just a few suspicious messages, but a full-blown communication trail that suggested something far more sinister than a simple emotional affair. I dug deeper. I went through our shared cloud storage, our joint email accounts. That's when I found the first real evidence that would destroy everything. Screenshots, intimate messages, plans, not just recent ones, but going back months, almost a year. The pieces started falling into place like a nightmare puzzle. My twin brother and my fiancée had been seeing each other right under my nose. But it wasn't just an affair. They had something more calculated going on. I discovered they were using our twin status to create an elaborate deception. Mark would sometimes take my place in social situations, at work events, even with our own family. Sarah was in on it. She knew exactly what they were doing. They were playing a game, and I was the unsuspecting pawn. There was one message that made my stomach drop. A conversation where Sarah was discussing how easy it was to manipulate me. "He's so trusting," she wrote. "He'll never suspect a thing." Mark's response was even worse. "They got 2 more weeks before the wedding." Then everything changes. What the fuck did that mean? I started collecting evidence. Screenshots, call logs, text messages. I wanted to be absolutely certain before I confronted them. But I knew one thing for certain. This went far beyond a simple affair. This was a calculated betrayal that had been planned for months. The wedding was in 2 weeks. Our families were excited. Deposits had been paid. Guests were flying in from around the country. And here I was, discovering that my entire life was built on a lie. But I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to make them pay. I called my best friend Jake, the only person I knew I could trust completely. "I need your help," I told him. "Something big is going down, and I need a plan." Jake had always been the strategic one, a lawyer who seen his share of messy divorces and family dramas. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was him. "Come over," he said. "Bring everything you got." Jake's office was a sanctuary of legal precision. Stacks of case files, diplomas on the wall, and a view of the city that seemed to mock my crumbling world. I spread out all the evidence I collected, printouts, screenshots, call logs. Jake's face grew more serious with each passing minute. "This is beyond a typical cheating scenario," he said, adjusting his glasses. They've been systematically deceiving you, and it looks like there's a financial angle here too." I hadn't even considered that. But Jake was right. Some of the messages hinted at something more than just a romantic betrayal. There were discussions about money, about the plan, references to some kind of long con that went deeper than just an affair. We started connecting the dots. Mark had always been the black sheep of the family, constantly in and out of jobs, always looking for the next big scheme. Sarah, who I thought was a successful marketing executive, had inconsistencies in her work history that I never noticed before. "I want to destroy them," I said. The words came out colder than I expected. Jake looked at me carefully. "Legally. We'll destroy them legally." The plan began to take shape. We would gather more evidence. Concrete proof of their affair, of their financial manipulations. I learned that in our state, infidelity could significantly impact divorce proceedings. And the evidence I had was just the beginning. I decided to play it cool, to act like I knew nothing. Sarah and Mark would never suspect that I was onto their game. The next few days were a masterclass in acting. I went home, acted like everything was normal, kissed Sarah, talked about wedding plans, acted like the perfect, unsuspecting fiancé. Inside, I was plotting their downfall. Mark invited me to hang out, probably to keep an eye on me or throw me off the scent. I accepted, knowing every interaction was another chance to gather more information. During our meetup, I noticed something strange. Mark was nervous, really nervous. He kept checking his phone, looking over his shoulder. Something was about to break, and I was going to be ready when it did. "Everything okay?" I asked, my voice calm and measured. "Yeah, totally fine," he responded, a bit too quickly. Little did he know, I was collecting every single piece of information. Every text, every call, every suspicious interaction, and I was going to use it all. The wedding was 2 weeks away, but I was going to make sure it never happened. Everything came to a head a week before the wedding. Jake had been digging into Sarah's background, and what he uncovered was more twisted than I could have imagined. Turns out, Sarah wasn't the successful marketing executive I thought she was. She had a history of running complex financial scams, with at least 2 previous relationships where she manipulated men out of significant amounts of money. My brother Mark was her perfect partner in crime. The night I discovered the full extent of their plan, I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath my feet. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to use our wedding as the ultimate con. I found detailed spreadsheets on Mark's cloud storage, financial projections, insurance policies, a meticulously planned scheme to essentially bankrupt me and disappear with a small fortune. The plan was brutally simple. Mark would occasionally take my place at work, slowly building a network of contacts. Sarah would manage our joint finances, gradually moving money into hidden accounts. The wedding was supposed to be the final piece, a massive insurance payout, combined with embezzled funds from my company, where Mark had been secretly impersonating me during key meetings. I confronted my parents first, showed them everything. My mother broke down in tears. My father's face turned to stone. They had no idea the depth of Mark's betrayal. We always knew Mark was troubled, my father said, his voice barely a whisper. But this is beyond anything we could have imagined. The final piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. Mark's current girlfriend, the one he'd been dating simultaneously with Sarah, contacted me. She had her own set of screenshots, her own story of manipulation. Apparently, Mark had been running the same playbook with multiple women. I sat in Jake's office, surrounded by evidence that would destroy my brother and my fiancée. The wedding invitations were still in our living room. Our families were still excited. Nobody knew the truth yet. We can ruin them, Jake said. Completely and totally. Criminal charges, civil lawsuits. They won. Know what hit them. I thought about 5 years of my life. About the love I thought we shared. About the future I had planned. All of it was a lie. The wedding was 1 week away, and I was going to make sure it never happened, but not before I exposed every single dirty detail. The plan was surgical, precise, absolutely devastating. I decided to let them believe everything was normal right up until the moment everything would fall apart. Jake helped me coordinate with local law enforcement, my company's HR department, and a forensic accountant who specialized in financial fraud. 5 days before the wedding, I acted like nothing was wrong. I went home, kissed Sarah, talked about last-minute wedding details. She had no idea the noose was tightening around her neck. The first domino fell at my workplace. I had concrete evidence of Mark impersonating me during several key meetings, committing what essentially amounted to corporate identity fraud. When HR and my boss saw the documentation, time-stamped photos, video evidence, detailed logs of meetings Mark had attended in my place, they were stunned. The same day, Sarah received a call from her marketing firm. The forensic accountant Jake had hired had discovered a trail of financial irregularities that went back years. Her successful career was built on a house of cards of falsified reports and fraudulent client billings. But the real explosion was yet to come. I invited both Mark and Sarah to a family dinner. Our parents, unsuspecting, were thrilled about this pre-wedding gathering. As we sat around the table, I could see Mark getting more and more nervous. Sarah kept shooting him these quick, anxious glances. "I have something to share," I said, my voice calm and steady. The room went silent. I started laying out the evidence. Printed screenshots, bank statements, communication logs, detailed reports of their affair, their financial schemes, their elaborate plan to essentially destroy my life and run away with a fortune. My mother started crying. My father looked like he was going to be sick. Mark tried to interrupt, to deny everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. The look on Sarah's face was something I'll never forget. Not guilt, not shame, but pure, cold calculation. She was trying to figure out her next move, even as her entire world collapsed around her. We were going to be set for life, Mark muttered, more to himself than anyone else. I had documentation showing they'd been planning this for over a year. Impersonation, financial fraud, elaborate schemes to drain my accounts and disappear. The wedding was supposed to be their final act, the ultimate con that would net them hundreds of thousands of dollars. By the end of the night, both Sarah and Mark were facing potential criminal charges. Their carefully constructed plan had fallen apart completely. The wedding was cancelled. Our families were destroyed, but I was free. 6 months have passed since that night. I am finally ready to share the complete story. Sarah and Mark are both facing serious legal consequences. The criminal charges were just the beginning. My company pressed full charges for corporate fraud. Sarah's marketing firm did the same. The financial investigations revealed a web of deceit that went deeper than anyone initially thought. Mark lost his job, his reputation, and essentially became a pariah in our family. Our parents, devastated by his actions, essentially cut him off completely. The twin bond we once had, that supernatural connection people always talked about, was shattered beyond repair. Sarah's career was completely destroyed. The forensic investigation uncovered years of financial manipulation. She's facing multiple lawsuits and potential criminal charges. Her dreams of a big payout disappeared faster than she could have imagined. As for me, I am rebuilding. The divorce proceedings were quick and brutal. Thanks to the evidence we collected, I came out ahead financially. All the money they'd been planning to steal, it stayed exactly where it belonged, with me. I moved to a new city, started a new job, began therapy to process the massive betrayal. The hardest part wasn't the financial scheme or the affair. It was realizing how completely I'd been fooled by two people I trusted most in the world. My lawyer Jake became more than just a legal advisor. He became a true friend. He was the one who helped me see that I wasn't a victim. I was someone who caught the plot, exposed the truth, and came out stronger. Dating again was terrifying, but slowly, I am learning to trust, to open up, to believe that not everyone is like Sarah and Mark. The wedding invitations were destroyed. The rings sold. Every trace of that life systematically eliminated. Sometimes life gives you a second chance in the most unexpected ways. My betrayal became my liberation. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust your gut. Collect evidence, protect yourself, and know that you can survive this. This will be my final update. A lot of people have asked for closure, so here it is. Mark's criminal trial ended last month. He got 3 years in prison for corporate fraud, identity theft, and financial manipulation. Sarah took a plea deal. 2 years in prison and a lifetime ban from working in marketing. Their grand scheme ended with them wearing orange jumpsuits instead of wedding attire. But the real story is about me. I met someone. Her name is Elena. She's nothing like Sarah. Honest, kind, a forensic accountant, ironically enough. We met through Jake, the same lawyer who helped me expose the truth. She understood my story without pitying me, which meant everything. My parents are slowly healing. The betrayal nearly destroyed our family, but we're putting the pieces back together. My mother still cries sometimes when she talks about Mark, but there's a strength in her grief now. My father has become my biggest supporter. I changed careers, left my old job and started my own consulting firm specializing in corporate fraud detection. Every day, I help people protect themselves from the kind of manipulation I experienced. Mark and Sarah's betrayal became my purpose. The twin connection I once cherished is gone. When people ask if I have a twin, I simply say no. That chapter of my life is closed. Jake, my lawyer and now close friend, Jokes that I am the most prepared person he's ever met. Maybe he's right. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. It's earned, carefully and deliberately. To everyone who followed this story, thank you. Your support got me through the darkest time of my life. To those going through similar betrayals, remember, you are stronger than you know. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's deceit. Life isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. Final edit. Sometimes the universe has a way of balancing things out. And sometimes, your worst nightmare becomes your greatest opportunity. Reddit, we did this together. Thank you for watching this incredible story to the end. If you liked the video, click the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. Write in the comments. What do you think about this story? How would you act in the shoes of the main character?